After 3 years of work, our follow-up to the Meat Eater Fish and Game Cookbook is here. It's the Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, campfire, and camp stove. Here is your book for everything that's best cooked or eaten outside. From grilling to open fire cooking to Dutch ovens to smokers to barbecue to backpacking meals to how to pull off the perfect fish fry, with pit stops along the way for lessons about Ice Age cooking methods and the best 5 ways to construct a cooking fire you can be proud of. And of course, we're focusing on wild game and fish here with over 100 recipes, including stuffed venison burgers 3 ways, wild duck with ahi verde sauce, a jerky made with cola, a gin and tonic made with fire-charred lemons, and grilled frog legs made with a sticky sweet sauce. This ain't your normal cookbook, so be prepared to be surprised. Get your copy now. For more info, visit themeateater.com or buy it wherever books are sold.
Oh, hey, everybody. Episode 12 of the THC Quarantine Cast, the daily version, coming right at you. We're winding down toward the end of our daily journey and back towards our normal, regularly scheduled program, but we still got a long way to go, still got a lot of fun to have. We're joined by the long-lost Joe Farinato. Jamie. What's going on, Joe? We haven't talked to you in like 12 episodes. What's up?
Oh, not too much, man. Just at home, trying to stay healthy, washing my hands vigorously every 10 minutes. You know,
yeah, I was watching a doctor show how to wash their hands yesterday, and they said to sing the Happy Birthday song twice. That's fine. I'm all good with that, but it's not something I've done in the past. So I will admit to being behind the curve, so I encourage all of you to make sure that you're doing it for long enough, and, as I learned, get the back of your hands. Get the middle of your fingers, get in the creases, get the back of your hands. Make sure you do all that. I learned that just yesterday. I'd been washing my hands a lot, but didn't really know that. So there's an aside for you. But welcome, Joe. It's a very important podcast. Hello there, Philip.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Thank you. We are joined today in the podcast coming up by the great Clay Newcomb out of Arkansas. He's got a new film out on firstlight.com. You can go to firstlight.com/pages/Newcomb and watch their film tomorrow, April 1st. Not a April Fool's prank. It's a real video. You can go there and watch it tomorrow. And you can also get 20% off his bear kit, our boy Clay Newcomb's bear kit for men and women. So that's something you can get exclusively at firstlight.com, both the film and the discount. So go there tomorrow, and you will enjoy both of those things. And I think you'll really like our conversation with Clay coming up about a lot of things, about breaking mules, about bears trying to jump in the blind with you, about raising kids, and his philosophies about the quarantine. So all that coming up. But before we get to that, Joe, we have the Great Hand Turkey Contest of 2020 coming to a close. Have you been following along over there in your confines?
Yeah, a little bit.
Have you seen any of the entries that we've shared or heard about what they look like at this point?
I have seen several of them.
There's many.
And they are interesting.
They're interesting as always, and majestic, delicious, pretty much any adjective that you can throw out there. But I've selected, Phil knows this, I'm really bad with selecting a final 3 or 5, so at this point I've selected what looks to be a final 8. That's because really the best I can do. There were so many good entries, and I feel so obligated for all of your good works out there that it's hard for me just to narrow these down, and so I need Joe and Phil to help me. So Phil, you've seen all these. What's your feeling now that you've seen the final 8 entries?
Once again, it's hard. It's very hard to select the best because at this point it's just subjective. It's the personal preferences of Ben, Phil, and Joe. So no, if you've made the top 8, you should feel proud.
That's right. We will definitely call you up by name here in a moment, but just to remind everyone, the idea here was to take your hand, trace it on a piece of paper, and then create some work of art from that hand turkey drawing. And many, many of you, hundreds of you did that. And the winner will get, I am going to figure this out. I have no way of knowing if I can actually do it, but I will make it happen. I'm going to take this photo, your drawing, and I'm going to get it screen printed as big as possible on the back of a First Light jacket, and you'll be able to wear that thing with pride to whenever we're released from quarantine. You'll be able to wear it in the airport, you wear it to church, you wear it to family functions, you wear it to your kid's soccer game, you wear it to the disco. Do people go to the disco still, Phil?
I think in Berlin.
Yeah, so they go to the disco if you're in Germany. Any of those types of things. If you're going to do any of those things, it'd be great to have a big First Light jacket with a giant picture of a hand turkey on the back. And so we're going to make that happen for you, thanks to our friends at First Light. But now we just need to go through each one, and we need to describe them quickly, say who was the artist or artists, and then move on to the selection process. Joe, you ready for this?
I am so ready for this.
Phil, get excited.
Do it. Yes, I'm freaking stoked right now, Ben.
Yeah, see, I was telling Phil prior to recording that I felt like most people I talked to today were just a little bit down, a little bit just the energy wasn't there. So we're gonna bring you the energy here. I am chugging a Red Bull. I just had 6 double stuffed Oreos and milk. I am destroying my body for you out there, THC listener. So here we go. Drum roll, please, Phil.
There will be no drum roll.
Okay, thank you. Good job. Okay. First, we have Nick Larson. Now, could you guys pull up Nick Larson's image? It's IMG0042 because I didn't really rename any of the files. And Phil, I'm going to give you a chance.
Why me, Ben?
I'm not sure. It seems that you're in it. So
yes.
Go ahead and give us the description of Nick Larson's entry here, please.
Okay, well there is featured in the foreground is a very well drawn hand turkey. It's strutting, it's doing its thing. But I think the thing that makes it unique is that in the background, behind a bush and some decoys, I am poking my head out.
Very Bugs Bunny like.
That's right. I'm wearing headphones and I've got a twig stuck in my hat. And I've also got like a toy shotgun with 2 corks coming out the end. I think I'm waiting for my chance. And this one's kind of uncanny because in the previous contest, people were supposed to only draw me what they thought I looked like based on my voice. But this one, it just looks like me. So,
yeah, it really does look like you.
That's a lot of fun.
I'm impressed. This one makes me feel something. I feel like, as a casual observer, this is exactly how it's going to go down when you finally get to hunt turkeys. So I feel really good about this one. Thank you, Nick Larson. It is professionally done. I mean, it's a great illustration. You'll see it. I'll post it on my Instagram stories, BennyOB301 on my Instagram stories, so you'll see it there. So that's a good one. Joe, do you have any commentary there?
Not too much. I really appreciate Phil having a toy gun. It really brings out the best in Phil, and I kind of wish we had that drawing for the Phil's face contest.
This might have won the Phil's voice face contest. I know. So wonderful. All right, moving on. Maybe my favorite. I don't know. It's hard to say. This one's entitled Jive Turkey from Brennan Cole. He shared it with me in multiple places. You guys looking at this one? It is.
Yes.
It is fantastic. It's me. I'm not in too great a shape. I have a kind of a gut working, and my pants are just a little bit saggy. My beard looks disheveled. My eyes are popping out of my head with kind of what would seem to be very red eyes. It's a black and white illustration. I'm in my turkey suit. The thumb is my head. The fingers are the feathers behind me. I am clearly drunk on White Claw. I'm throwing away an empty can while also holding another open can. And then I'm screaming, "I'm the man," while Steven Ranella in the background is hiding behind a tree, and he's glassing me from afar. Man, this is pretty fantastic, and I would love to see this on the back of a jacket. I got to tell you.
This is why I'm kind of, even though I'm very flattered by Nick Larson's drawing, I would feel guilty giving him a screen printed jacket with my face on it. But this, on the other hand, I think is this would look good on the back of anything.
Yeah, this is fantastic.
I agree with that.
Yeah, it's just, it makes you laugh every time you look at it. Moving on to the next one, David Burgess. We already talked about this one before, so if you go back to podcast past, I don't remember the number. We talked about this last week, but it's a beautiful. It's like a painting, and again, my head is the thumb. I'm looking very inquisitive, and it's just a really good looking turkey. Now, I remember Giannis Patelis pointed out that the spurs are upside down on the turkey, which is going to mean something. But it's really just well done, and I look pretty handsome as a turkey in this one. So this last one, I kind of look slobbish and drunk, just out of sorts. This one, I kind of look like a champ.
Well, which one is more accurate though?
The first one. No, I definitely don't. Like, you want to see me right now? It's not great. It's really, my wife just came in my little nursery studio here and said, "What's that smell?" She says, "It smells like farts and campfire." I'm like, "Yeah, that's about right. That's about right." So that's our buddy David Burgess, a really good one. We've already talked about that on the show before. The next one, it takes a brief description. Adam Dawson, Michigan Hello Thunder Chicken. It's a middle finger. Like the middle finger, the hand is facing you. The middle finger is the head of the turkey. And then he's illustrated a fan behind the head of the turkey.
Yeah, this one I didn't see it until the second time I looked at it.
Yeah, me either. I had gone through, I'm like, well, that's not a hand. And then I kept going. And I had to come back to it. And then when I did, I thought, oh, that's beautiful. That's well done. Like the knuckle of the middle finger is where the beard comes out of. It's fantastic. So got to be in the running. Got to be in the running.
I'm surprised you guys didn't notice that it was a hand flipping you off when you first looked at it.
Yeah, I didn't. I don't know why. I had to look at hundreds of these, but then when I went back to it a second time, same thing. I'm like, whoa, that's cool. So points for creativity to Adam Dawson for his Michigan Hello Turkey. Moving on to bringing it up for the females. We already talked about this one with Steve and Yanni on Thursday. Samantha Bill, Bihl. Is that how you say that, Phil? Bihl?
Beal, probably.
Beal.
It's beautiful. It's colorful. It's actually like a painted hand turkey with a pink background. It says "Great Hand Turkey." Something about this one, it just is appealing to me. So Samantha, really good job. Any thoughts on that, Joe? It's the first time you're seeing this.
I really like it because, like you were saying, it's colorful. It's like an actual painting. And, she really stayed true to the trace your hand and make something out of your hand. So.
She really did, yeah. So then we have, we're moving on. Then we have Tim Jarouse. Tim Jarouse? Sorry, Tim. That's my bad, man. Last time we talked about it, he's got a hand turkey decoy and then a hand gobbler that is attacking this decoy. And as Steve Ranella pointed out last week, it's got a balled up fist. It's coming in for the kill. Phil, any commentary on that one?
I like this one a lot. I like the facial expression of the attacking turkey. Yeah, I'm getting some really serious Matrix vibes coming off this. I can kind of picture it like frozen with a camera just rotating around it. Yeah, I like it a lot.
I like it a lot too. Moving on to Greg Smith. Now, we talked about Greg Smith last time, and he wrote me an angry email that, can you describe what I just told you, Phil? This is the guy who he and his kids did 3 turkeys, and then they pasted them onto a photo with deer in the background, and Steve Ranella called that out, smartly called that out. But Phil, do you want to kind of go over what's going on in this one?
Yeah. So what I like about it is that it's a whole family of turkeys. You can tell that the first 2 in the picture were done by kids of varying ages. But as far as Greg, I love the idea, but the thing is, is that I didn't really get it the first time I looked at it, and you had to send an email clarifying what we were looking at. So the one that presumably you drew, the turkey looks.
I could just read it to you. He said, he wrote he said, very important that we screwed this up on episode 9. He said, the premise and creative genius of my submission is that my gobbler is attempting to masquerade as a Canada goose. And the target that you guys thought was on his wing is the logo of a Canada Goose jacket he's wearing. Perhaps it's a geographical issue. I was under the impression that Canada Goose jackets were world-renowned. They are a Toronto-based company. Yeah, we're aware of Canada Down jackets, just weren't expecting that curveball in the old turkey contest. But I get it now. He's masquerading as a Canada Goose.
Yeah. See, I see it, and I think that's clever. But I honestly didn't even see the jacket. The jacket's kind of too blended into the turkey feathers. I couldn't really tell. But now that I see it, yeah.
Yeah.
Good job, Greg.
Creative. And then Alec Aycock to round out the top 8.
Oh yes.
Phil, have you seen Alec Aycock's creation?
Oh yeah, I have. We designated a whole segment to it.
I forgot about that. Yeah, no, I black out every day when I go to sleep. Wake up with amnesia. Joe, have you seen this?
This is the first time I've been seeing it, or I have seen it, and I like it.
You really like it. It's made from fly tying materials.
Yeah, I can see that.
We've discussed that a lot over the last week. It's been the leader in the clubhouse throughout. I would say. I didn't think anything could beat this, but there's some in this top 8 that are gonna really challenge Alec's submission here for the winner. And so that's the top 8. There's a lot to think about here. Phil has no drum roll sound effects, so I'm a little nervous about what to do next.
No, I'll put one in.
Okay, drum roll, please. All right, boys. Do you want to try to go top 2 and then narrow it down, or do you guys all each have one in your head that you think is by far and away the best? Phil,
I mean, I've got a top 2 with an honorable mention right now.
Let's go top 2, and I'll let you start. What is your top 2?
Okay, well, I mean, my top 2 and the honorable mention are just the first 3 we looked at, honestly. I'd say that the one with me behind the bush, I love it, but that would be my honorable mention.
So that's Nick Larson.
Yes, Nick. Thank you so much. That was great. That's my honorable mention. My top 2 are Brennan's and David's.
Brennan is the jive turkey.
Both featuring you as the turkey, just in different states.
Yeah, different states. One is just a drunken slob of a turkey, and the other guy is just like a pimp turkey that's just looking for trouble. I like that. Okay, so Brennan and David have votes to be in the top 2. Where are you at there, Joe?
So I'm gonna say Brennan and David are also in the top 2, but I also like Adam Dawson.
Adam Dawson,
Michigan Hello Thunder Chicken.
Yeah, man. The Michigan Hello.
I think that's great.
That's really, really good. And it would be great on the jacket, too. It would be fantastic on the jacket.
It would.
I feel bad for Alec Aycock in this situation because I think he's been around so long that we just kind of taken his greatness for granted. He's kind of like Kobe Bryant before he retired. Like he's just dropping 50 points a night. And you're just like, well, yeah, of course he is. Of course he's great. And so I think he's getting the short straw here, Phil.
Yeah, I agree because I like the toilet paper featured as well. It's quarantine, it's topical. I still got to stick with my gut. The thing I said last time, it's not a hand turkey. I appreciate the craftsmanship and the creativity and even the photography.
You can't see the hand in that?
Yeah.
I think it's my winner, man. Like
I think it's a hand turkey.
Yeah, it's definitely a hand turkey. Yeah, I'm going with I'm gonna stick with Alec Aycock as my top 2, and I'm gonna go with Jive Turkey by Brendan Cole as my top 2. And if I think they're all honorable mentions for me. That's why they're here. Greg Smith, Tim Jarris, Samantha Beal. I'm saying all your names wrong. That's fine. Adam Dawson, your Michigan Hello Turkey. You're all in it. But I think I think we have to say that if we were saying there was a top three, we were talking about Nick Larson, Brendan Cole, and Alec Aycock. Our top three. And I mean, I got to give it to Brendan Cole myself. Like that's of all the things that's going to really look good on a jacket and is going to make people laugh and stand the test of time. I got to go with Brendan Cole. So he's my final vote. Although Alec Aycock, we will absolutely accept your hand turkey creation for the THC Hall of Fame. That will just be a small shelf behind my desk whenever we make it back there. So you will stand the test of time as a great art in my opinion. So I'm going to go with Brendan Cole. What as long as I'm saying his name right, it's Coyle. So sorry, buddy, if I'm saying it wrong. But Joe, what's your final choice?
I'm going to go with Brendan Cole as well.
Brendan Cole. Phil, you all right with Brendan Cole?
Yes. Sorry, I've got a kid screaming in the background. I turned off my mic.
I thought that was my kid for a minute.
For the sake of your show.
I was looking around like, is my kid screaming? What? Huh?
Yeah, I will also vote for Brendan Coyle, and I will pronounce his name correctly.
Yeah, it's Coyle. Yeah, I saw that right after I was looking at it. Oh, boy, that's me. That's THC for you. So congratulations. Round of applause, everybody. Brennan, sad round of applause. We wish we had more hands. For Brennan, thank you, and we will get your name right. We are going to send you a First Light jacket with this wonderful drawing on the back. Thanks to everybody that joined us for this great contest. Again,
one more thing. Sorry, Ben. One more detail about this drawing we didn't even mention is that your turkey suit is First Light brand.
Oh, yeah. Even better product placement. We like that here at THC. We like that quite a lot. So, Bren, we said your name wrong about 15 times, so we'll just say congratulations, Brendan Coyle, on being the 2020 Great Hand Turkey Champion. Thanks for your art. Thanks for your time. And we'll come up. I'm so drunk on contests, I'm thinking of the next contest right now. So stay tuned, folks, for the next great idea. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Phil. Now we're going to go to equally great human being, our friend Clay Newcomb. Enjoy. Clay Newcomb, how's it going, man?
Hey, Ben. I'm doing good, man. Doing very good.
Well, I can't. You sound really good, but I can't see you. And you were telling me that you have presented a fine mustache today.
You know, I focused on the mustache. The beard is strong. Beard game's strong right now, but the mustache is kind of that's what I kind of got dolled up thinking this was on video, but.
Well, I know you're not a selfie man, but
Phil's gonna have to cut this out. But no, I'm growing a gobble to gobble beard, Ben.
Oh, are you? Ooh.
Yeah. I haven't said that publicly, but I haven't shaved since last March.
Wow, so turkey season to turkey season beard.
Yeah, gobble to gobble. So we'll turkey hunt in 2 weekends, and at that point I will be eligible, if I hear a turkey, to shave. And I go through ebbs and flows where I'll be like clean shaven and look like an insurance salesman, and then like for 2 years, look like what I really am, kind of a little bit woollier.
Well, it's nice to be it's nice to be multifaceted. What's your wife think? She like the beard, or she like clean shaven?
Man, she likes the beard. She does. I don't really think she cares. There's all this talk of, your wife will kiss you more if you've got a clean shaven face. And I've not found that to be true. I've been married for almost 20 years. I've been keeping records. So I don't know that there's any truth to that.
Yeah, me too. I just feel like my wife, half my face is covered up. That's probably good for her. She's like, if you keep that bottom part, extend that chin out a bit with that beard, I would really appreciate that. That's as far as I get. All right, well, we got a lot to talk about. I just got done watching the film Nukem over there at firstlight.com. We'll give you all the details about that as we go on here in the show. But I guess maybe my first question, and I also want to know kind of what your quarantine life looks like. But I think the first question that I have for you is, nobody's ever made a film about me, and I kind of hope that no one does. But what's it feel like to have someone make a film kind of about you and your philosophies and how you live your life, and what's that feel like?
It was kind of surreal seeing the film, Ben. It really was. I'm comfortable with a camera just because I've been making films myself for a long time, but it's very, very different when somebody's making a film about you, and so watching the film, yeah, it was kind of a unique experience for me. I watched it with my whole family, and they were part of the film, and we were all just kind of just like grinning ear to ear after it, but no, it was quite the honor for First Light to do that for me. Really, it was. We made this film over a year ago. Actually, is when they were here filming, and I didn't know a ton about Jordan Riley, and I really didn't know Ford Van Fossen that well. So Ford Van Fossen he was the producer of the film. He works for First Light, and I knew Ford through First Light, but he'd never come and stayed at my house and ate dinner with me for 4 days, and man, those guys are just incredible humans in my opinion.
Yeah,
and they're good at what they do.
Ford being a fellow Marylander, and has a great name, Ford Van Fossen. You just something's coming out of there. That guy ain't gonna be boring.
That's right.
For sure. But so those guys come and stay at your house. Did you have a vision of what the film would be in your head? Did you think this is how this is going to come out, or total
Nothing.
surprise?
So it all started when I told randomly, I think I told Bridget Noonan that we were going squirrel hunting on mules, and that's kind of how it started. She said, "Well, hey, we want to do something with you. Maybe we could make a film and include squirrel hunting with mules." And we quickly started formulating this idea for them to send a camera team down, and we just bounced some ideas. It was February, so in Arkansas, our bow season was still on. The squirrel season was on. It was coon season, and I just started naming off the options of stuff that I was gonna be doing. So we're squirrel hunting. We're still doing some deer hunting. We're coon hunting. And they said, well, that's what we want to make a film about. And I really didn't know. I really didn't know what it was going to look like. And yeah.
Yeah. We'll get to the actual film in a little bit, but I think, people, if you don't know Clay, you can go back and listen to our Whiskey and Ethics podcast from back earlier this last fall in 2019. So we'll give you a minute to go do that. And we're back. So now you know everything about Clay you need to know. So
there you go.
Thanks for doing that. You're down there in Arkansas. You got your kids, your family. You've kind of already got a very self-sufficient life going into this. You probably could describe your homestead for people. It's in the film as well. When the quarantine hits, does your life change at all? Is there anything you do differently from your daily life? Because I know you work at home, you own your own business, and on
right.
and on.
Personally, my world really didn't change that much. I work from the Bear Hunting Magazine Global Headquarters, which is on my property. So it's not in the house, technically. It's about, a bow shot away from the house. And so my work schedule didn't change. What did change is that my family's here all day, and so my kids are virtual schooling. My wife runs a private school, and so she now is working out of the house. And so, that's the main thing. My daughter, I've got my oldest daughter just turned 18 years old, and she went to college a year early. And so she was over on the East Coast at college, and they, closed the school down for the semester and sent her back. And so, there were some adjustments we had to make just because we she wasn't here with us, and then she was, which it's been a delight. But it's it's really been a unique opportunity that we may never have again the rest of our life. For all of us to be sanctioned to be home. So it's a super unique thing. It has affected us. Especially my wife and her job and the kids' virtual schooling. It's been a little bit of a strain for sure.
Do you? Yeah, I know. Like I always appreciate your view on things in general, kind of how you think about life and how you handle your life. And I just, as I said, just got done watching the film and learned a little bit more about it. But like your general philosophy on something like this. There's a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety. A lot of people are kind of reaching out for control and trying to find a new normal.
Right.
How have you been approaching it? How would you suggest people approach it? Kind of just encapsulate all that for me.
I think we've got to just not approach it from a fear-based position. I not to get too deep into this, but I feel like God's in control, and we've just got to. We can't approach it from fear, and we've got to abide by the functional regulations. We've taken serious, social distancing and these things, but I have, as parents, Misty and I, we've made sure that our kids aren't afraid. We've talked them through this. We've had clear communication, and we've really focused on the positive things. Our lives are not, our economic status isn't dramatically affected. There's so many good things, pluses inside of our life. We are pretty self-sufficient. Obviously from the meat category, we're highly self-sufficient, and we could stay here for a while and not need much. But I think the main thing that a father's got to do inside of his home is be a leader in the sense of just spearheading the perspective, the ideology, the posture. Just like if I was fearful, the kids would know it. They would know it, and it would produce fear inside of them. And I'm not afraid. I respect what's happening as a unprecedented thing, but we're gonna get through this. It's gonna work.
Yeah, I love that, man. It's similar here. You kind of go through, and even for me personally, I would admit to like giving myself a little time each day or every other day to kind of either whether I'm alone or with my wife to just work through some of it, talk through some of it. It's important to be able to address the things that even you as somebody who kind of has to set the tone in the household has to go through and process. My wife gets that too. I tell her if you need a couple hours each day or an hour each day to kind of just go off, I'll take the kiddos, and my kids are much younger than yours, but just for each other to kind of have some time to go do what you want to do, whether it's watch the news and get educated or just, take a walk and forget about it for a minute. That's been important around our place.
Yeah. Yeah. I think unity inside of husbands and wives is important right now, Ben. I really do. Communication, even unification inside the home front. I know you've got kids. I've got 4 kids at home. Like if one parent has these standards for, just common stuff, like even just like house cleaning, like we're usually not home 24 hours a day. The house gets dirtier than it usually does. If one parent has this standard and the other parent has another standard, that can create friction. So like unification of standards, unification of expectations, and all that comes through good communication. And it comes as spouses let go of their preferences in some places and embrace the preference of their spouse. And in the same way, that goes both ways, big time. That to me is like foundational bedrock stuff, because when families are all together, all the issues of life are going to find you there in the midst of that house. And so you don't want a house that's full of friction. It can be stressful times. So I would imagine a lot of people are going through that right now.
Yeah.
They're used to this buffer of time being in between, when they see their family in the morning and when they see them at night. And there's only so many like coping mechanisms that you can have. Oh, I could talk for hours about this, Ben, but I mean, if if somebody's putting their kid in front of electronics, 16 hours a day during this thing, that's probably not the best thing for them. But
Yeah.
I realize not everybody lives out in the country. Not everybody has access to a lot of fresh air, but so
yeah. It's a thing. I mean, I think that happens. That's happening with everyone, and it's something that we haven't really talked about on this show. And this is episode number 12. And as this thing goes on, you're like you said, you're spending a whole lot more time with the people you love, which is great. But you're also there's also some personal choice that's gone and some control that's gone within that environment. So you got to kind of give and take to figure it out. And I told my wife, her and I had talked a lot about just being every day being active and finding solutions and communicating with each other and just saying like, we're going to figure this out. If it starts getting a little bit frustrating one way or the other, or if, I'm busy at work and she's not feeling great or what, let's try to, be each other's lifeline if we need to and just give that full support. That's, admittedly that's tough. It's a thing we've had to work at every day and just say, cause I think especially, I don't know how you feel, but I think especially as hunters, we're gone a lot, more than the normal person. And I'm used to kind of solace and some adventure outside and certain types of, respite there. And I don't have that. And my wife has me around more without that. So it's just a different dynamic.
Yes. Sure is. It sure is.
After 3 years of work, our follow-up to the Meat Eater Fish and Game Cookbook is here. It's the Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, campfire, and camp stove. Here is your book for everything that's best cooked or eaten outside, from grilling to open fire cooking to Dutch ovens to smokers to barbecue to backpacking meals to how to pull off the perfect fish fry, with pit stops along the way for lessons about Ice Age cooking methods and the best 5 ways to construct a cooking fire you can be proud of. And of course, we're focusing on wild game and fish here with over 100 recipes, including stuffed venison burgers 3 ways, wild duck with ahi verde sauce, a jerky made with cola, a gin and tonic made with fire-charred lemons, and grilled frog legs made with a sticky sweet sauce. This ain't your normal cookbook, so be prepared to be surprised. Get your copy now. For more info, visit themeateater.com or buy it wherever books are sold.
Have you guys been getting outside a lot? I know seasons are a problem now. Like this isn't September. So
right.
we can't
we have had an incredible amount of rain in Arkansas. It's been a very wet spring, so we have been getting outside, but the weather's killing us. My wife is, there was a season in our life where we didn't do a lot of gardening. We did early in our marriage, and then we had kids and we raised kids and we did less gardening. And now that the kids are growing up a little bit, we're doing more gardening. So we've been doing my wife is the spearhead of it. I'm kind of just like the grunt laborer. And so anyway, we've done a lot of gardening stuff this last week.
Yeah, same here. Funny enough, same here.
Yeah.
We were standing at. It's a little bit later here, obviously. It's because it's still supposed to snow. I think later this week, but
oh wow,
we were standing at the our back porch window yesterday, just kind of plotting out like that's where that's gonna go. That's because we're still in a brand new house, so we still got to put the above ground, the raised beds in and do all this plants. We're trying to plant.
You
some
got a lot
fruit
of work,
trees.
Ben.
Yeah.
You got a lot of work, buddy.
Which I'm liking, man. Like we live like where we live. This is probably too much detail, but where we live, we had a bare backyard when we moved in. We've made some improvements to it, but it's mostly the soil is just fraught with river rock. Like we're right close to the Gallatin River here, so I felt like last summer trying to pick some of this rock out so I could plant different things. I felt like a laborer, but now I'm like, well, I got all the time in the world. I can just go and dig 1,000 rocks every day, and gives me something to do, gives me exercise, gets me out of the house. My son loves to dig rocks, so
yeah, he's great at that.
Yeah, he's great at that. So I don't know. You just take those things to me, it's like that having that amount of work to do now is a positive thing because I got. Yeah, it can be my distraction, and digging rocks, though monotonous, is still work. still meaningful and still has an end result that's positive. So
Yeah, man. I used to be for the years before Bear Hunting Magazine, I owned a landscape company. So I did a lot of grunt labor like this. So.
Yeah, I'll have to get like I said, I got a half acre of bare dirt in River Rock at this point.
Yeah.
So I got to get to work. All right, well, we got to get to what's really going on here. And like I said, I mean, I nobody told me to do this. Nobody said, hey, have Clay on the podcast. I watched that film, and I'm like, I got to call Clay. I got to text him. I got to get him on.
I appreciate it,
because it's just it's exciting for a lot of reasons. But I think the main reason, and I also get it. Let me be honest. I was part of a marketing team and made films similar to this about individuals that we thought were exceptional and kind of spoke to who we were as a company. So, that's the honestly the exchange here.
Right.
And I think that's important for people to know, but that doesn't at all affect the story that's told here. And I like a lot of things about it, but what I like about it most, and I was telling you this before we hit record, what I like about it most is that you said toward the tail end of it that you could be a great hunter and probably be more palatable for social media, I guess is maybe the right way to put it, and
right.
but also a poor father. You could be the best hunter, you could spend all your time hunting and perfecting that craft, but at the same time that might take away from what's most important. So you just encapsulate how you think about that balance.
I think hunters are passionate people, and we have to be successful. And so, I mean, there's this drive inside of us. I mean, I feel it strongly inside of me. And I think left untouched, that drive would be like the dominant feature of my life that would probably bulldoze over a lot of the other things in my life that really might be important. And so what I've had to do inside of my life because of this deep innate drive to, and you could call it to hunt or to engage in adventure or whatever. It's like I have to intentionally dial that thing back in some ways. And that doesn't mean that I'm less of a hunter, because I still feel like I give 100%. And I actually think that by being balanced, you become a better hunter. And that was kind of my point, is that a lot of times you think the way to get something is to reach and grab for it with full force. But really, if you step back a little bit and use some wisdom and go about the long-term route to get there, you get to this place where you're proficient at your craft and you've received just, an incredible amount of joy and satisfaction out of that. But also you've got this other supporting part, your hunting is supported by really the big picture things in your life, which is a strong family and being a good father and being a good husband. And so I guess that's what that was the main thing I was speaking to, is that Clay Newcomb without refinement would be a barbarian that ran over people. I mean, if I'm being honest, would take advantage of a understanding, partnering wife. And that's what I'm saying we can't do, because I see that. I see that. I see people that see this picture of somebody on social media or a pro hunter that gets to hunt all the time, and like that's what they want, and they probably reach for that. And there's got to be balance. Got to be balanced.
Right, and I'm sure you would agree with this or have thought about this. I'm, in my life as a parent, as a hunter, and my dad went through this too. He explained this to me when I was growing up. He went through a time when he was about my age, when his kids were, or when I was about my kids' age now, that he didn't hunt as much. Yeah. And it was me getting into hunting that kind of pulled him back into it. And he had, a certain time of his life where, just as you said, with your gardening, like that when you have small children, you kind of have to be home. You can't be going off to far-flung places every weekend for weeks at a time. And so for me too, I have struggled recently. I would say like in 2017, I hunted more than I would ever possibly hunted, and that was the year the first year of my son's life, and then I realized, well, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
And as part of me is possibly that I personally was rebelling against this idea that I couldn't do it anymore.
Right.
So doing as much as I could. So I totally understand. That was the thing of the film called Nukem that spoke to me the most. But everything before that, it kind of just tells your story, how you live your life, the kind of person you are. It goes a little bit into your upbringing, but not a lot. But could you just kind of give people a rundown of where you grew up and what it was like and how you came to hunting the way that you did?
So I grew up in kind of southwestern Arkansas, not quite deep southwest, but in Polk County, Arkansas, and that's where my parents still live, and that's down in the Ouachita Mountains. I currently live in northwest Arkansas, which is about 2 hours from where I grew up, and man, I had a great jump start in life with a great dad and a great mother. My dad was a hunter. You see my dad on the film. I was so pumped that my dad was on there. I almost hardly opened my. I'm 40 years old, Ben, and I rarely do a podcast where I don't talk about my dad, and I never intend to do that. But it's like his influence on my life was just so strong. I can't tell my story without talking about him, and I think that proves. That even builds this idea of the importance of family, not just inside of hunting, but just inside of life. Because he influenced me in a whole lot more ways than hunting. Clearly. But my dad was he was bow hunting before bow hunting was cool back in the 1970s in Arkansas, and he got a bow, and his father, my grandfather, was a big quail hunter, and my grandfather kind of jokingly gave him a hard time. Oh, you'll never kill a deer with that bow. And that kind of ignited a fire in Dad to become a bow hunter. And he was killing game when nobody else was. And so I was born into this bow hunting family, and we weren't allowed to shoot deer with guns, not because he had anything against guns, but he was just like, if you're going to be a hunter, you're going to be a bow hunter. And so, the first deer I ever killed was with a bow. My friends were killing deer with guns, and we weren't allowed to do it, And so there was a kind of a trial by fire. My brothers, I've got two brothers. I'm a middle son. My two brothers are not big hunters. And to be honest with you, I think my dad was so gung-ho that he probably kind of pushed him away from it a little bit. And he'll tell you that just the same. But what it did for me is it put me, my dad, he wasn't got to hunt on the weekends. He wasn't able to hunt much during the week. And so he took hunting very, very serious during the short time that he had to hunt. And so that kind of gave me a template that hunting is not about fun. Hunting is about work and accomplishing your goals. And now later in life, I have tweaked that to where hunting is a lot more fun. But that's what made me successful, was going at it like, this is serious stuff. We're not messing around. We're taking this serious. You can come with me and do it my way, or you can stay home. And that is what really built who I am, though. And I appreciate that now. And I bring a little bit of that, Ben, into the way I handle my kids, but also have a little bit more of the compassion. And my dad was just kind of like full throttle, whatever he did. So I don't do it just the way he did it, but yeah, I still have some of that in me in the way that I raise my kids. Yeah, it's not always supposed to be easy. And anyway, I guess I was talking about where I came from. That was my early upbringings in hunting. Was in that context.
How do you thinking about that? I like that line of thinking. How do you think about success now? Or I think maybe even a better question, how do you articulate hunting success to your children? Like, what's successful in your mind for them, when you guys go out?
Yeah. To me, success is going into, like, if I were to take an individual hunt and I could like categorize a hunt like this is the way it works out in my brain. Like I think about Arkansas whitetail hunting as like one block. I think about Arkansas bear hunting as one individual block. I think about a spring bear hunt in Montana as one individual block. And if I can know what my resources are for that hunt, like I've got, a month and I can hunt in the afternoons and I can, do this or that. Or if it's like I'm going to be in Montana for 7 days, so it's not apples to apples, but whatever resource I have, if I can go into that hunt and give absolutely everything I've got, give every effort, and come home, and whether I have an animal or not, if I've given everything, I feel like it's a success. I can ride. I've ridden home from Montana 2 times without a bear, and it's kind of hard to swallow, but it's just like, man, I did everything I could. I wouldn't do anything different than what I did. That to me is a success. Lack of not success is, if I wasn't able to, if I go through a season and I only hunted 2 times for whitetails in Arkansas, and I'm just like, man, I just wasn't able to make it happen. And obviously I want to kill game. And I mean, that is a part of success, but obviously that's not the only part.
Yeah, that's what eats at me too a little bit. Like when I don't have success as far as killing an animal, that's one thing that concerns me. But when I didn't prepare with my bow, if I didn't shoot my bow enough, if I didn't, bring the right one time last year, I thought I brought my sleeping bag on a backcountry hunt, and all I brought was a sleeping pad. So it was pretty cold too. So I had to turn around and go back. And I just felt like that mistake was way, way more. Those mistakes of preparation and time and commitment to the craft, I think are the things that bother me way more than just not killing something,
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that something that you thought about?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously, anytime we hunt, we're going to make mistakes and learn from it. So we might do things different if we did it again. But in general, that idea of just leaving everything on the court, to go to a sports analogy, is what I like inside of hunting. If I come home and feel like I've left everything, and the older I get, I am changing, and I really didn't think I would, but to be successful the way I've hunted, I've had to just be really driven, and not, driven inside the moment, inside the hunt. I'm not talking about, I'm kind of just talking about in the field driven. I've had to be that way. More and more, I'm becoming interested in the way that I hunt and where I hunt and how I hunt being the success. Like I might pick an area and say, my goal is to kill a deer in that area. And I could kill a bigger deer right here at my house maybe, but I've already done that. I don't want to, I want to kill a deer in this place. And that's become a kind of some goals inside of my hunting, more and more every year. So, because there was a time when I probably was just interested in things not that specific, if that makes any sense at all.
That made it, absolutely. Well, and as I was watching the film has chapters, right? It talks about kind of different things you do and the way you do them. And there's trying to shoot a deer off a mule. There's coon hunting. There's squirrel hunting. There's bear hunting. It's kind of all these different facets of your hunting life. And I just kept typing notes like, why this, why that? You got to explain to me. I find too that, you have a lot of extensions of your hunting life in your daily life, like owning a mule, owning dogs, like all those things are daily parts of your life that you're honing and refining for hunting in your case. So I guess you have to tell the story about buying your first mule. What the hell you were even thinking?
Yeah. We didn't grow up with horses or mules or anything. I was around them my whole life, just growing up in rural Arkansas. And one of my best friends had a bunch of horses, and we rode. And to be honest with you, Ben, I was always really afraid of them as a kid. And I would just so bad want to ride one. I mean, I'd go to his house and I'd just be like, we got to ride horses. That I would be scared to death. And for whatever reason, that always bothered me, how much I was scared of those horses. And my dad was, when I was young, kind of put this, he coined the term a PhD in Arkansas hunting. And he had this idea that he wanted me to, be a deer hunter, bear hunter, turkey hunter, and a hog hunter, and be proficient at all those things. Well, that kind of rolled into wilderness transportation, if I could say it that way. Mm-hmm. And equine animals are a super traditional way to access the backcountry. Boats are a way to access the backcountry. I've got some water stories that I never told in the film. And anyway, I was just like, every year for the last 10 years, I just had this idea that I wanted to get a mule. Mules down in this part of the world, and maybe it's this way other places, but they really are kind of an iconic symbol of rural culture. Arkansas and Missouri and parts of Tennessee would be kind of the mule epicenter of the world in a lot of ways. Like a lot of the Western guys that have mules actually come back to this part of the world to buy mules. So there's I won't say that there's really not a lot of mules anywhere, but for mules, there's a lot here. And so I always had this respect for mules. And anyway, I actually, Izzy was not the first mule that I ever owned. She was the first one that I trained, just to clarify. Okay. So I had another mule before that was a green broke mule. And saying an animal is green broke is basically just like saying they're half trained and super dangerous. And so I had a bad experience with a green broke mule that nearly killed me a couple of times. And basically you're buying somebody else's train wreck a lot of times when you buy a green broke animal. I learned that. And so that's why I wanted to start from total scratch. I thought, hey, the best way for me to do this is to just start from zero. And so that's what I did. I found this mule, and to me, it was a really pretty mule. It was a flashy mule, as we say in the business. And she's a red mule with white on her, so she's a paint colored mule, which in the mule world, it's pretty unique to get a colored mule, one that has multi-colors on it. Most mules are solid colored, unlike horses. And so I bought this mule, and the mule was pretty much untouched. The guy could put a halter on the mule, but I mean, he'd never messed with her before. And oh man, it was a step. It was really me overcoming fear, Ben, which really has been a theme inside my life in a lot of different areas. It really has. We went to pick her up, and she was wild, and I had the wrong kind of trailer, and it was a rodeo getting her in the trailer. Some of the film shows some of that. And I just said, I'm going to train this mule in 6 weeks. I'm going to be riding her in 6 weeks. And I'd never trained a mule, but I watched YouTube videos. I had a kind of a mentor that was a real good horse trainer, a guy from Mina, that he only came to my house one time, but I talked to him on the phone throughout the whole 6 week process. I'd call him about once a week, and he was really articulate. He was a trainer that could tell you what he was doing. Sometimes trainers can't articulate what they do. He could really articulate what I could do. He knew so much that he could read into what I was seeing through my words over the phone and could tell me what I needed to do. He helped me. And mule training really is an art. A mule is much harder to train than a horse, most people say. I don't know. I've never trained a horse. But supposedly, and I believe it now that I'm deeper into this world, but a mule is the hardest equine animal to train. And but when you get a trained mule, you actually can have a superior animal to a horse. And obviously somebody's going to disagree with me on that, and there's no right answer, but a well-trained mule is super safe. But it's hard to get one to that point. But I can nerd out, buddy, about mules.
I love
Flashy
it, man.
mules.
I love. You gotta start a mule-based podcast, or at the very least a hashtag or something modern like that.
Yeah. Well, Flashy Mule. I've been hashtagging Flashy Mule since, Steve did that. He thought that Flashy Mule was funny when I did the podcast with him. That was the name of that podcast.
Flashy Mule. I love it. I mean, at somewhere along the way, you decided you were going to shoot a deer off Izzy's back. Explain that in the film a little bit. What the hell's going on there?
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, it hasn't happened yet. No, 2 weeks before, before First Light even called me about the film, I had made a decision that I was going to try to kill a deer off her back with my compound bow. And I hunt a big cattle farm over here that has a lot of deer coming out in the late season on the edge of these fields, and there's livestock in these fields. So, I thought, hey, I might be able to get up pretty close to these deer on this mule and shoot a deer off of her back. And so the first thing that I had to do was just get her used to me shooting the bow on her back. And so there was a process there of me on the ground. Mules or horses are just afraid of anything unless you teach them not to be. And so what I would do is I would feed her, and a mule would sell his soul for a handful of grain. So you feed her, and I would shoot my bow just, 10 feet from her, then 5 feet from her, and then just like right in her face, just shoot the bow. And then crawled up on her back and shot it off her back. It was no big deal. I knew it wouldn't be with that particular animal. And anyway, so Ford calls me. It's like, hey, we want to do this film. And we talk about all the things we can do, and we're like hanging up. And I said, man, I'm trying to kill a deer off my mule's back. And he was like, that's what we want to film. And I said, man, I'm going to look like an idiot. I mean, really, I almost was like, nah, let's not do that, because I didn't want it to look like a stunt. But at the same time, I was like, well, okay, we can try. And I told him, I said, there's no way I'm going to kill a deer while y'all are here. Or I said, it's doubtful. I figured it would take me 15 hunts riding that mule to kill a deer over there. That's what I thought. And it actually turns out to be a lot harder than that, because I've hunted a lot more than that. And I've missed 2 deer off of her back. So in neither one of those misses are on the film, but I've actually shot 2 arrows off of her back at deer and missed. It's so hard, because the mule sees deer.
Yeah.
And she wants to turn and face them and put her ears up and look. And you're drawing, and she's got to be perpendicular, because you can't twist in that saddle. You've got to shoot pretty much at a right angle off of that mule if it's facing forward. You have a little bit of flexibility in there. And anyway, I'm looking forward to the early season this next year. I think when the leaves are on the trees, the deer will actually be more tolerant of the mule. Yeah, what I learned is in the late winter, when I thought I could kill one, was actually probably the worst time to try to kill one, because they are ultra spooky and they're all grouped up. So you might have one section of the farm that's got 20 deer and they're all together. And so that makes it super hard. In the early season, I feel like, the deer are all split up. So you might be able to go in and spook a few deer. Maybe you get 5 different stalks, in a day rather than one. Yeah. And that's kind of what happens in the late season. So I've not accomplished the goal yet, but I plan on it. I hope to be able to do it.
Well, when you think about mules, it's just from reading it that, like, George Washington, old General George Washington, was a mule breeder.
Yeah.
Mules were known in the time of Egypt and Moses, and they're mentioned in the Bible. Mules have been around for damn near as long as we have. I can't imagine you're the first person to shoot a deer off a mule, but maybe the first modern person to think of it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is that novelty part of the reason you do it, or is it just because you want to do something harder?
I've found that anything that involves these mules and hunting, I enjoy it. And maybe that's the part of my life where I'm softening up a little bit as a hunter. Because used to, I'd been so goal-oriented, I wouldn't have tried to throw in something really hard to make me less successful, So I think I just enjoy the mules so much that to bow hunt off of them just sounds fun. That's the main reason I did it. And I figured nobody had done it or at least filmed it. So even though I did see a guy shoot a buck off a horse's back online, I have seen that.
I imagine that's been done. Yeah, if people don't know, Clay's got a pretty damn good YouTube channel over there too. So I'd look that up. There's a lot of good videos, and even in you can't really talk too much more without talking about bears. But what I didn't know before watching the film is how much kick-ass bear footage you had. And I was like, as I'm watching this, I'm seeing bears. There was a particular, I believe it was a chocolate bear. It might have been more blonde. But that was basically you had built a ground blind, just had to look like down trees and such. And it looked like this chocolate bear tried to jump in that damn blind with you.
Yeah, that was up in Saskatchewan. That bear, we were so far back in the wilderness bin. I don't think those bears had ever seen people before. And that particular bear, we felt like it was his first time to ever come there. The outfitter didn't have any pictures of it. And he came in, and there's a whole film on that. There's a film on my YouTube channel. I think it's called Bear Touches Traditional Archer's Arrow, I think is the subtitle of it. But anyway, yeah, that bear just came right in, man. I mean, it was one of those situations where I lost control of the situation, which has never happened to me on a bear. I mean, every bear encounter I've ever had in my life, I felt like I was in the driver's seat. That one, I got kicked out of the driver's seat, and he actually touched the end of my arrow and kind of reared up about 3/4 on his hind legs, and then he dropped down and turned, and I shot him. And that's the video that I got so much grief for on the internet.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah,
we talked about it a little bit last time. Yeah, I mean.
Oh, okay.
I think it is. I mean, it's pretty compelling footage. That was the first time I had seen a clip like that snapshot. I'm like, whoa, we gotta cover that. We might as well, let's cover some of the grief you got as we get into kind of your passion for bear hunting. We'll go through the whole deal, but particularly with that video, and you've had others I know too that have developed some grief there on the YouTubes. Tell us a little bit about that.
So that video, when you really start getting grief is when they start getting a lot of views. And that video, I think, has 2.3 million views now, where that bear touches my arrow. Mm-hmm. And it's really interesting. People, I bet there's been a comment today, Ben. I bet we could go there right now, and there's been a comment made today that says that I am some terrible, terrible thing because the bear spared my life and then I shot him when he turned. I mean, hundreds, Ben, hundreds, if not 1,000. Well, the video has 3,000 comments, and people watch it, and even hunter. There's lots of guys that say, I'm a hunter. I like bear hunting, but I would have let that bear go. He spared your life. And you should have spared his. And it's just, so we could go on and on about the glass house that those guys live in if they're hunters. And I mean, but that's the main thing. And then there's people that have no context, and they think that I killed the last grizzly bear on planet Earth. That's the other equation. First of all, it's not a grizzly bear. It's a color-phased black bear. Number two, they have no idea, that the North American model of wildlife conservation has been the most successful animal husbandry endeavor of mankind. And the only reason we have bears is because, in wild places, is primarily because of the funds and efforts of hunters. I mean, I've got these scripted things that I know everybody says don't respond to haters on YouTube, but I've made a lot of responses to people, and I think it's helped sharpen my banter on the fly.
Yep.
It really has. I almost use it like an exercise tool. And not everybody, but to the odd person, and when I have time, I'll just pound back something, throw the funding aspect, the taking older mature males, talk about how it actually was a good shot and the bear died very quickly. I mean, just the massive misunderstanding of bear hunting. Yes, we eat the meat. Yes, this is a sustainable practice that we've been doing for forever, so
Yeah.
we all know it. Bears are charismatic megafauna. They're a touchy subject. But to me, Ben, and we talked about this before, I think that's why bears are so important for the narrative, the whole narrative of North American hunting. Really, I think, that whole idea of guard the gate. It's like there's such a hot button, they actually then become something really important, that we have a strong narrative, strong ideology, strong philosophy, and kind of a unified stance in the hunting community.
It's clear. I mean, I think it's clear when you say, what you said last time you were on, and even now with guard the gate, and it's explains exactly why you'd go out and talk to some seemingly crazy person on a YouTube comment string. I used to do that all the time, and I feel the same way you do. I felt like, in a way, maybe I talked to 100 people over the course of a 6-month span on that just hated the mere fact that I existed on this earth, but as I knew, it was pure ignorance that kind of fueled that hate. If 10 of those 100 people went and Googled the North American model of conservation just to prove me wrong, at least they did that, and now they could read a little bit about what it was. And so there is an impact there, and I think that does go along with your philosophy of guard the gate. If you could let those folks kind of scream into the void, but sometimes challenging them can have a good result.
And what's bizarre about human nature is that most of my comments, I start off by saying, thank you for your interest in our video. And then I tell them whatever I'm going to tell them. And then I say, hey, we wish you the best and thanks for commenting. I start it with something cordial and end it with something cordial. And sometimes people just melt over that. I'm serious. Like somebody just cussing you will come back and go, hey, thanks for being reasonable, or like that's happened so many times. And the reflection inside of human nature has been that if they actually knew you or me or some of these good dudes out there that are hunters, if they came to their house and ate dinner with them, they would understand just because of the people that we are.
Yeah.
And so that human connection, we're not barbarians. That's powerful. And I think that's a part of media that is going to become a more and more powerful component of our narrative inside of hunting, is that we're people. And honestly, like this film kind of does that in a way. I mean, it's telling the story it's a hunting story, but it's a human story.
Yeah.
And that people identify with human stories. And so it alleviates a lot of, I think that kind of storytelling is powerful when we can see the human behind it and see their motivations, because that's what they don't understand. Yeah, they don't understand the science and the facts and the words and the ideas, but mostly they don't understand the person. It's like, why would this barbarian do that? Mm-hmm. And then if they saw that guy, they'd realize he's not a barbarian.
Yeah.
I think that's powerful.
There's common narratives, right, to what this film is and what it says about who you are, and you face the same challenges I face, and I'm watching. I was relating to you with your balancing family and your passions, and trying to teach your kids to be like you, but also that they don't need to be like you, to respect the lifestyle that you live, but they don't have to do it the way you do it. I mean, I think that regardless if that was hunting or any other practice or any other passion, that can be applied, whether it was sports or ice climbing or whatever. So I think you're right, and I think this film, and I think First Light and the guys that captured did a great job at kind of laying that out for people. And again, I mean, I couldn't agree more with the idea that you can have a dialogue with people. I this isn't where I wanted to go with the conversation, but I had an email the other day from, since we've been doing these daily podcasts, there's been a lot of positivity. I didn't do it for that reason. I did it because I wanted to distract myself and distract everybody from what's going on in the world. But I've had a lot of positivity, and thank everybody for sending emails and Instagram messages about how this has affected them positively. I've had from what I can count is one negative comment on one negative email. When I read that negative email, the first thing I did was write a really long, angry response. And then I had to sit with that for like 5 minutes. Then I deleted that and I just wrote back, thank you for, you have the right to critique and criticize our show. That comes with the territory. And I really appreciate, you're taking the time to listen and taking even the greater time to write in. But goes to show, like, sometimes you can step back from what's happening and say, I'm going to be this way because that's who I am. I'm not going to let people drag me down into whatever narrative they want to create, And I think this film kind of stands above any of those things that happen online or, really at any platform. If somebody were to watch it, they'll get to know you in a way that can't be boiled down in some Instagram comment on a bear video.
Yeah.
So it's good for that reason. It's good for that reason and many others. But, you as you start talking about bear hunting, you said early in the film, or when we got to the chapter about bear hunting, that bear hunting wasn't really a thing when you were growing up. Like, it wasn't something that everybody did, and you just kind of saw it and decided you wanted to be a part of that.
Yeah, so what's so beautiful to me about my story with bears is that it coincided with bears coming back, to Arkansas. So Arkansas once was, had all these bears, were the bear state. They were gone for 70 years because of all the same reasons. A lot of our other wildlife disappeared during the same time period, and then the bears were brought back. And so to me, it's like a conservation story of about the time I grew of age. The seasons liberalized here in Arkansas in such a way that bear hunting could become a thing. And so this first bear that I killed in Arkansas, I was just mesmerized by this critter and quickly realized I knew nothing about it. And I'd bow hunted enough up until that point that, I knew, for the time period, I felt like I knew a lot about deer. I knew a lot about turkeys. I knew a lot about all these other animals that I hunted. I killed this bear and knew nothing about it. And that set me on a trajectory to learn as much as I could about bears. And that trajectory really hasn't stopped. And they're pretty fascinating critters. And I find most people, the average level of knowledge about white-tailed deer and even now turkey across the hunting world is pretty phenomenal. Like, just the average guy knows more than the expert did in the early 90s and late 80s. I'm kind of exaggerating, but I find right now people like bears are kind of coming on the radar, and they're coming on the radar because bear populations are expanding. There's more focus on them as good food, as good opportunity. You can hunt them in the spring and fall. It's kind of a no-brainer that they would be a great thing to hunt.
Yeah.
And anyway, when I killed this bear, my dad, he kind of just thought, well, Clay killed a bear. Okay, he's done. The next year, I was like, man, I'm bear hunting again. And he was like, why you want to do that? And I was like, Dad, I hadn't stopped thinking about that bear since the day I killed it last year. I want to kill a bear more than I want to kill a deer. And it took him a while to understand that, he never was that focused on bears. And anyway, so that's kind of how and what I perceived was that even the people in this region kind of had a vermin mentality for bear. It was kind of like killing a feral hog or something, like a guy might accidentally kill a bear. And man, when I killed a bear, it was a totally different experience. I was just like, this is an incredible beast. Wow. And then I started doing all this research about Arkansas history, and golly, I was almost offended that the people that tutored me, and I'm talking in a broad sense, not just my dad, and I wouldn't care if he heard me say that. He would laugh. I was offended that they didn't tell me that this was the bear state. I was offended that they didn't tell me about Frederick Gerstocker and the guy named Erskine that got killed by a bear down here in this hollow about 20 miles southeast of my house. I was offended that they hadn't told me about Oil Trough, Arkansas, and how there was a whole market hunting economy set up around bears, and they were shipping this stuff down to Louisiana, down the Mississippi River. And it's like we have this rich history and nobody knew about it, And it to me that just adds, weight and fun and just some gravitas to the hunt when you know this history behind it,
Yeah, I mean, you didn't just kind of embrace bear hunting. You started the Arkansas Black Bear Association. You now own and operate Bear Hunting Magazine. So it wasn't like you just like, yeah, I'm really into this. I think you went both feet in.
Yeah. Yep.
And
I did.
I mean, Arkansas Black Bear Association. When did you start that? You were in young man.
I'm glad. I didn't have much input any input into the film. I saw it just last week for the first time. So the Arkansas Black Bear Association is currently not in operation. So we were in operation for 5 years, and we had a membership. I mean, it was like a legit 501c3. We had a membership. I think at one time we had about 400 members in Arkansas. And we produced a quarterly magazine called the Arkansas Bear and Buck Journal that I produced. And man, so that I did just on the side. Like I didn't make any money from that. I was still working a regular job and was also running the Arkansas Black Bear Association. We were doing seminars and I mean, it was just totally, I won't call it a hobby because I didn't really view it as a hobby, but it was not income producing. Well, the Arkansas Black Bear Association led me to Bear Hunting Magazine, and that's a whole nother story, but long story short, in 2013 I acquired Bear Hunting Magazine, which was already in print for 14 years full-time business that required me to quit my job and just take this thing on full-time. I tried to run both businesses for 3 years, and I think in 2016 is when we just had to close the doors of Arkansas Black Bear Association just because I couldn't do both, and there was no funds. I tried to kind of give it away to somebody, and it just didn't work. So anyway, so that's I have mixed feelings about that, but
yeah,
that's the story.
Yeah, I ran into Bear Hunting Magazine many years ago. And picked up a copy. I want to say I was it must have been well before you had it, but I want to say I was hunting moose in Newfoundland, and they had a bunch of, and I remember picking this up and kind of following along. So when I heard that you had picked it up, I'm like, that's a hell of a good thing because some of these, it's hard to, as you well know, I don't have to tell you, it's hard to run these smaller publications like that. It's just a tough time for that kind of business. And so it goes just to show another piece of your grit to take something like that and make it successful and make it a livelihood for you, and for whatever it is.
The print world is for the niche magazines. Some of them are still doing really good. That's kind of a fascinating thing to me. The printer that we print our magazine with. He'll tell you that they print about 400 titles and you wouldn't know a single one of them. I mean, they're just, like Pinstripe Hot Rod Magazine, Mag Wheel Magazine, Bear Hunting Magazine, just these little niche magazines. Because still, I mean, we're the only, if you want concentrated content, we're the only place to get an all bear magazine, so, but it's fun. It's a challenge. It's entrepreneurial. It's been good to me.
Well, it's a, not to go too far down this rabbit hole, but when I've hunted in Europe, Scandinavia, and places I've been, guys I know over there from just being in outdoor media for so long, there's a real entrepreneurial, like, make your own media house, world and culture in Europe and Scandinavia, where, kind of every hunter that you would meet has his own magazine, or every hunting club has its own magazine. And a lot of people, there's a lot of that. So you see that over there. And I watched that culture and really enjoyed the fact that, there's more outlets for that kind of material, and they're all very niche, like yours is. So, not to go too far down the industry rabbit hole, but that's, it's really cool to see, something like that that's allows you to live your life and also, talk about something you love and educate people and make it, make it more than just print in people's hands, because I know there's a whole lot more that goes to it than just the magazine.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing. There's a whole lot of quotes about you in this film. But the one that you just have to comment on, you're Robert Frost, Aldo Leopold, and Andy Griffith had a baby. That would be you.
Thank you, Brent Reeves.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brent Reeves.
Your friend and outdoor photographer, videographer Brent Reeves rocks that out. Where are you at with that? Accurate?
Man, I wish you could talk to Brent Reeves. You need to talk to Brent Reeves. Brent is one of my close friends. He's filmed with me all over the place, and he is a true Arkansas character. And like, he can remember, like, he is the world's best when it comes to quotes. I mean, he could write a book off the quotes from his dad and grandfather. And every time I'm with him, he whips out some quote, and I'm just like, there is no way that your dad said that. And he's like, yep, he did. I've been saying that my whole life. So I don't know if he's telling the truth or a lie, but he's good at it. Let me just put it that way. And it didn't surprise me when I heard him. I wasn't there when they filmed that, obviously. So I had no idea what Brent said. And so anyway, it was funny. I thought it was funny.
So did I. You said some things in the film. You guys are into a squirrel, I think, and you said, we're in the chips now, boys.
Yeah.
So you got any Newcomb sayings that people need to know about?
Oh, dang. I think I've got a lot, Ben. I'm on the spot here. Yeah.
You can certainly send me a list afterwards of all the things you say. Because I know I have things that I say. I have no idea. I just say them. And they become people remember you by the phrase.
Yeah. I'll have to think about that.
Think about it.
I maybe this is everywhere. I know it's in the South just because this is where I grew up. But I mean, and even historically, hunters have been like these big characters, and I think that if somebody tries to be a character, then it comes across as inauthentic, But I mean, I think we grew up with that. My dad's a character, man. If you were around my dad for a couple hours in deer camp, I mean, he's hilarious and he's just funny. Not funny from a sense of a comedian. Just you would laugh at a lot of what he said just because he's just a character. He's just big character. Yep. And Brent's the same way, and a lot of people I know are. And really, I think I'm a result of, just like all of us, of the community of people that we respected as we grew up. I mean, James Lawrence, that guy in the film that says Arkansas Mountain Man. Yep. Man, that guy right there, there's not a more real deal hunter on the planet. I was so glad they put him in there. I mean, James Lawrence is, he's the real deal, man. And he's the kind of guy that's not very vocal. He's the kind of guy that has killed more deer than anybody on the planet, and he never told anybody. And you go to his house and you see all the deer he's killed over the last 50 years on public land down in the mountains where there's hardly any deer to begin with, and you're just like, holy smokes, this guy's the real deal. James has been a big influence on my life. But, we're a result of these people that we value, Yeah.
It's a cool thing about, about First Light particularly, and other brands that I've worked with or been a part of, especially in the outdoor industry, when these brands that are, they're there to do a job, but they also understand that. They understand that there's people that they value and an ethos that they value and something that sparks in them excitement. They're excited to tell your story for just the reasons that you talked about. There's many people in my life that have been on this show that people have heard from that have done that for me. Wyman Menzer, Charles Rodney, a bunch of other folks that people have listened to on the show. That's just, I value
Colonel Tom
Kelly. Yeah. I
like that one.
I value not only their perspective on life, but the way that they've structured their relationships with other people and the way that they speak and and all of that. So I think that comes through in this film for you. It's not only a story about your life, but all the people that have helped you build it the way you have. So I think a lot of us, even now, man, when I'm stuck in my home, I don't have any mules or squirrel dogs or anything running around here. I like that. I see that as the next chapter. I think a lot of people could watch this film. We got to tell you where to go watch. Of course, you go tomorrow. It drops tomorrow on April 1st, which I'll have to talk to the First Light guys about dropping stuff on April Fool's Day.
Is this a joke?
Yeah, is this a joke? Tomorrow, April 1st, firstlight.com. You go to firstlight.com/Newcomb, I believe it is. /pages, PAGES/Newcomb, and you can watch this video tomorrow, and it's only on firstlight.com. So if you go over there and watch it, you'll get to experience all of this, and I'm sure just like me, you'll be thinking, man, right about now, right about quarantine time, I would love to be out there training mules with Clay on his place. It just seems like an escape that many of us would love to partake in, even though I'm sure the turkeys are gobbling down there, aren't they?
I have not heard one. That's why I've still got my beard. But our season doesn't open till we've got a late season. Our turkey numbers are hurting, so they pushed it way back. But we can't hunt for about 2 more weeks. But they're gobbling. I've heard lots of guys say that they've been hearing them.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Well, good, man. Anything else you want to say about the video and the process?
Let me say something about First Light. When they came, I knew what they were here to do, to make a film, and I knew that, they're a company that wants to sell clothing. And I've been with First Light for a long time. I like to say I was wearing First Light before it was cool. That's probably not true. It's not. But for years I've been wearing First Light. And I wear First Light all the time. Not when I'm taking pictures, but just I wear it. Well, when they came, I was like, what do you guys want me to wear something? And they were just like, man, just wear what you would wear. It doesn't matter. And they de-emphasized so much the First Light gear. And that kind of, I don't want to say surprised me, because it might insinuate that I thought something less of them. But like, even with the guys that I was hunting with, I was like, hey, do you want my dad to wear First Light? Do you want James to wear First Light? And they were like, no, if they're not wearing it, they're not wearing it. They were like, that's not what this is about. And I respected that. And I think that, it's not a sales pitch. And that just speaks to the values of the company.
Yeah.
They were interested in telling the story. And I thought that was cool.
Yeah. They've done that with me too. Hey, if you're not, don't worry about it. If you're not wearing it, don't wear it. We certainly want you to take a look at it and wear it if you can. But if you like something else, let us know why. Maybe we'll make something better next time. So it's good. This nice, honest, earnest, people with the right values coming at making content for folks. And in a time where we need that, in a time where we need, number one, the distraction of good content, and also just people that are honest with us and telling us exactly where they are, I think that's to be valued. So, man, I really appreciated the film, and I appreciate you taking some time to talk to me about it. Hopefully everybody will go to firstlight.com tomorrow on April Fool's Day and watch it. We promise it's not a joke. It's real. It's a great film. It's about 11 minutes of your time, and you will very much enjoy it. The film is called Newcomb, and you're listening to Clay Newcomb. Thanks, brother.
Hey, thanks, Ben. Thank you. I really appreciate it, man.
All right. That's it. That's all. Another episode in the books. Thanks to everybody that took part in this one, specifically all of you people that hung in for the beginning of the podcast where we chose our winner for the 2020 Great Hand Turkey Competition. I feel that we need to maybe take a look at the kids' drawings only. So many people had their kids take part in this. And so thanks to all the parents and all the kiddos out there that took part. We may have to go back and select our favorite 12 and under drawing, because there's so many good ones out there. In case we don't do that, just a thank you hopefully will suffice. Thanks to everybody for putting that time and effort in to help us have fun and be distracted from the current quarantine. Joe Farinado, you're there still, right?
Yep, I'm here.
Now, everybody that comes on gets a chance to kind of say their piece on the quarantine. So I didn't want to let you go today without getting a little bit of your perspective on the quarantine and kind of what you've been up to. So wow us with your pros, buddy.
Well, I don't know. My perspective varies daily. Like at the beginning of it, I kind of was like, we're not really in a huge situation in Montana yet, but as everything progresses, I can see the reasoning behind everything, and I'm really appreciative of all the people who are out fighting the disease, like nurses and doctors, medical professionals are out on the front lines, taking care of people. But as far as what I'm doing, I'm just working every day, day-to-day things. Montana, we're still allowed to go out into the mountains and enjoy our public lands and get hiking. And so I've been out in the mountains quite a bit and hiking around and running every day and trying to stay healthy. So that's what I'm doing.
Good. That's about all you can do at this point. So I know you have been. Well, thanks for coming and joining us and helping us pick the hand turkey, Joe. I can't tell you how much I look forward to being back in a tiny studio with you guys. And
it'll be nice.
Speaking into microphones while together. That'll be a good time. Tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, what I really want to do for all of you that have been listening through all 12 of these episodes, and we'll listen to the final 3 of them, is kind of take a brief moment to celebrate the people out there that are listening to this show, that are working their asses off, as Joe just said, to help other people, to bring positivity to their communities, and just be good humans at a time where we need to pull together. So I've got a lot of really good emails and notes from a lot of you out there that are going through tough times, that wanted to reach out and just share your perspective. So please continue to do that at THC@themeateater.com. Let me know where you are, what you're doing, how this is affecting you, how you're pulling through it. I would love to get some of you guys on the show to kind of explain that and just briefly let us know that you're doing okay and how you're making that happen in your world. So I want to take what has been the strange 3 weeks and at least in part end it with you and your stories and how you're connecting during this time. So make sure in the next 24 hours, if you can shoot me a note and tell me your story, we'll do our best to try to get as many of you on as we can, alongside our guests and different other conversations that will continue. So if you're listening and you want to reach out, please do THC@themeateater.com. All right, guys, we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
The Hunting Collective with Ben O'Brien is a part of the Meat Eater Podcast Network. It is produced by Corinne Schneider and engineered by Phil Taylor. You can find it on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, themeateater.com, or anywhere podcasts are downloadable. Wherever you listen, leave a 5-star review and subscribe.
Phil, what's your guilty pleasure, quarantine pleasure? I was just talking about double stuffed Oreos. I just housed 6 of them in a big mug of milk at 2:40 in the p.m.
Oh, you know what? I got myself a bag of these hazelnut spread M&Ms because they can't legally say Nutella. But let me tell you, they are not Nutella. They don't hold a candle to Nutella.
Yeah,
they hardly even taste like hazelnut, honestly, and I'm disappointed.
Yeah, no, I'm pissed. I'm going to be writing a strongly worded letter. Not a sponsor. M&Ms are not a sponsor of the show, nor will they be allowed on this program until they discontinue this dog shit hazel M&M thing. Joe, are you a double stuffed, single stuffed, mega stuffed Oreo guy? What's going on over there?
I like the double stuffed Oreos.
Good. Thank God. Thank God. Bringing some sense to this world. You're always a voice of reason in troubled times. I try to be. All right, double stuff for life.
After 3 years of work, our follow-up to the Meat Eater Fish and Game Cookbook is here. It's the Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, campfire, and camp stove. Here is your book for everything that's best cooked or eaten outside. From grilling to open fire cooking to Dutch ovens to smokers to barbecue to backpacking meals to how to pull off the perfect fish fry, with pit stops along the way for lessons about Ice Age cooking methods and the best 5 ways to construct a cooking fire you can be proud of. And of course, we're focusing on wild game and fish here with over 100 recipes, including stuffed venison burgers 3 ways, wild duck with ahi verde sauce, a jerky made with cola, a gin and tonic made with fire-charred lemons, and grilled frog legs made with a sticky sweet sauce. This ain't your normal cookbook, so be prepared to be surprised. Get your copy now. For more info, visit themeateater.com or buy it wherever books are sold.